Imagine you are sitting at a big, beautiful table with your whole family. It is Christmas Day. There's yummy food, shiny silver spoons, and everyone is laughing. You think everything is perfect. But then your big brother stands up. He isn't standing up to give a happy speech. He isn't smiling. He looks very serious, like a teacher who just caught someone breaking a big rule. He reaches into a bag and pulls out a folder. Inside that folder is a secret that will change your family forever. It's a secret about someone stealing, someone lying, and someone being very mean to a person who is sick. This isn't just any family, though. This is the royal family of England. This is the story of how Prince William, the man who will one day be king, decided he had seen enough. He saw something rot happening inside his own house, and he decided to fix it, even if it meant breaking his own father's heart. Get ready, because what you're about to hear is like a movie, but it actually happened. It's a story about being brave, doing the right thing, and protecting the people you love from the people who are pretending to be friends. This is the day the palace changed forever. The Queen always talked about how important it was to do your job and help other people. She was a very kind lady who worked hard for many, many years. Prince William learned a lot from her. He thought her life was a great example of how to be a good person. He wanted to be just like her. But just after Christmas ended at their big house called Sandringham, everything went wrong for the royal family. It wasn't a group of bad guys from another country who caused the trouble. It wasn't the newspapers telling secrets either. The trouble came from inside the family. It came from the one man that everyone thought was just being quiet and doing his work. That man was Prince William. He finally made a big move, and after that day the royal family would never be the same again. This story isn't just about people arguing or gossiping like you might hear at school. This is a story about how a prince, who isn't even the king yet, stood up and stopped something very bad. He found out that some people were doing very mean things to the crown. What he found was so bad that it made the king cry and sent the queen away forever. But before we tell you the shocking ending, we have to start at the very beginning. William didn't just wake up and decide to do this. He planned it for a long time. He watched, he waited, and he gathered all the facts. He wanted to be 100% sure before he acted. So how did it start? What did he find? Keep listening, because this will change how you think about the royal family forever. Christmas lunch at Sandringham is a very special event. Everything is planned perfectly. There's roasted turkey that smells amazing, fancy drinks, and everyone talks politely. They want the whole world to think they're a happy family that loves each other and the country. But on this Christmas, the happy family was just a story. It wasn't real. William knew the truth. He sat at the top of the table and didn't move a muscle. He watched everyone. He felt sad because every time there was a bad story in the news, people liked the royal family a little bit less. He knew there was a big problem that needed to be fixed right away. He watched Queen Camilla's children, Tom and Laura. They were laughing and talking like they owned the place. They talked about fixing up big houses and buying expensive wine. They acted like they were royals even though they weren't. They thought they would always have all this fancy stuff. King Charles looked very, very tired. He was sick, but he also looked like he was carrying a very heavy backpack that he couldn't take off. He looked sad. Camilla was smiling, but for a split second her smile went away. William saw it. He was watching her very closely. The main part of the meal was just finished. William took his water glass and set it down on the table. It made a small clink sound. It wasn't loud, but suddenly the whole room went quiet. Everyone felt that something big was about to happen. A few seconds later, the big doors to the dining room opened wide. It wasn't the waiters bringing dessert. Instead, men with suits and radios walked in. They were security officers. They looked very serious and didn't smile at all. Everyone stopped talking. One person even stopped their fork right in the middle of the air. Everyone held their breath. William stood up very slowly. He picked up a blue folder and put it on the table. It made a thud sound that felt very loud in the quiet room. Inside that folder were papers that would end everything. There were reports from money experts, bank papers, and lists of fake companies. The papers showed that millions and millions of pounds, which is like many millions of dollars, had been taken. This money was supposed to be for the country and the crown, but someone had hidden it and kept it for themselves. When Tom saw the papers, his face went white. He looked like he had seen a ghost. He started to stutter and said it was a mean trick. He looked at his mom, Camilla, hoping she could help him. His sister Laura just sat there. She was so scared she couldn't even move. She was like a statue. Camilla squeezed her napkin so hard that her knuckles turned white. She didn't say a single word. King Charles looked down at the papers. At first, he looked confused. Being a king is different than being a prince, and he was trying to understand. But then he saw the truth. He realized what was happening. The numbers on the papers were clear. No one could argue with them. When William spoke, his voice was very calm and quiet, but his words were very strong. He said that all the deals with the fake companies were over. Right now. He said that experts would come to get the stolen money back. Tom and Laura were told they couldn't go to the royal houses or use the royal money anymore. There was no arguing. There were no second chances. The security guards walked forward and led Tom and Laura out of the room. They didn't get to go out the big, fancy front doors. They had to walk through the back hallways where the workers go and leave through the back door where the delivery trucks park. They were shouting and upset, but no one listened. William watched them from the window as they were driven away in a plain car. He looked very serious. He knew people might think he was being mean, but he didn't care. He wanted everyone in the palace to know that the time for stealing and being sneaky was over. The rules were different now, and everyone had to follow them, even the queen's children. But here's the big question: how did William do this? He isn't the king yet, so how could he tell the queen's children what to do? How could he take away their fancy things? The answer happened 2 days before Christmas. It was a very secret meeting. This meeting wasn't on any calendar, and nobody told the newspapers about it. It happened at a place called St. James's Palace in a special room. The room was built a long time ago with very thick stone walls. These walls are so thick that no one can listen in with secret microphones or cell phones. William sat there with the most important judge in the country and a high-up government leader. It felt like a very serious court. Later, the palace told the public that King Charles was just letting William help out because the king was feeling sick. They made it sound very nice and peaceful, but the real truth was much crazier. William wasn't just helping. He was taking over the whole business because he realized there was a bad sickness in the family. He thought some people were being very sneaky because the king was too sick and too nice to see what was happening. At 9:47 at night, King Charles signed the papers to give William power. His hand was shaking, but he knew he had to do it. He didn't even know how bad the secrets were yet, but he trusted his son. As soon as he had the power, William started working. It was 10:15 at night. He called the two most powerful people in the palace to a meeting at midnight. One was the boss of the secret spies MI5, and the other was the man in charge of the king's money. William told them right away that their offices had been messy and that people loyal to the queen were doing bad things. He didn't say they were bad people, but he told them they had to help him now. The man in charge of the money tried to say they had to follow the old rules. William looked at him with ice-cold eyes and said that the old rules allowed people to steal millions of dollars. He said that wasn't going to happen anymore. By 2:00 in the morning, William had fired them and hired new people. He had already spent months finding the best people for the job, people who were experts at finding hidden money and who weren't friends with anyone in the palace. They were only there to do the right thing. Then William got access to the black box. It's not a real box with gold in it. It's a very secret computer file that holds all the secrets of the royal family's money and files for years and years. Usually only the king and queen can see it. Because it was so secret, nobody ever checked it, which made it easy for people to hide bad things there. At 3:30 in the morning, William typed in a search. He wanted to see every payment made to Camilla's family. What he found was much worse than he ever imagined. The plan to steal the money wasn't simple or messy. It was very smart. It was done by people who knew exactly what they were doing. The money was taken from normal things like fixing the houses, buying food for big parties, and helping charities. If you just looked at one bill, it looked okay. But when William's experts looked at all of them together, they saw a pattern. Little bits of money were taken here, and big bits were taken there. It was all going into secret bank accounts that nobody was supposed to find. Tom and Laura were right in the middle of it. They had special companies in faraway islands where people often hide money. These companies were getting the royal contracts. For example, Tom's companies provided the fish for the palace, but they charged 3 times more than the fish was worth. They charged $2,000 for a bottle of wine that should have cost $500. They charged way too much for flowers. Laura was getting paid thousands of dollars just to send one email. They even charged for big parties that never even happened. Over 5 years, they stole about £45 million, which is over $50 million. Every single bill had to go through the Queen's office before it was paid. William now knew where the money went and how they did it, but he had one big question left. Did Camilla know about it, or was she just not paying attention? He was about to find an answer, and it involved a special purple mark. The people working for William were some of the smartest money detectives in the world. They worked in a secret basement with no windows and no phones, so no one could spy on them. William told them, find the proof, and they did. They found something very sad. There's a special pot of money for royal emergencies. To take money from it, 2 people have to sign a paper, the person in charge of the money and the king himself. This is to make sure no one steals. Over 5 years, £87 million were taken from this pot. The detectives used special computer programs to look at the king's signatures. A normal signature from a healthy person looks almost the same every time, but the signatures on the papers to take the money were very messy. They looked like they were signed by someone whose hand was shaking a lot. When they checked the dates, they found something terrible. The papers were signed on the same days the king was getting his very strong medicine for his cancer. On those days, the king would be very sleepy, confused, and tired from the medicine. Someone was waiting until he was at his weakest to make him sign papers he didn't understand. There was more to the trick. They would put the bad papers inside a big pile of boring papers, like letters to other countries or papers about charities. The people working for Camilla would tell the king, "Sir, you need to sign these right now so you can go back to sleep and rest." And because the king trusted them and was very tired, he would sign them quickly without looking. But the most important part was the purple seal. Before the king signed any papers from the queen's office, they were stamped with a small purple mark. This was Camilla's personal mark. It meant she had looked at the papers and said they were okay. Every single time money was stolen, that purple mark was there. It was put on the papers a day or two before the king signed them. This proved it wasn't a mistake. Someone was helping the money flow to the queen's children on purpose. They were taking advantage of a sick man. This wasn't just stealing anymore. It was being very, very mean to an old, sick person. William needed the real papers, not just pictures of them. He knew if Camilla found out he was looking, she might try to burn them or hide them, so William set a trap. William found a lady named Margaret who worked in the money office. She was a nice lady, but she was very loyal to Camilla. William's team made sure Margaret accidentally heard them talking. They said they had found all the money but just needed the original papers to finish the case. As soon as Margaret heard that, she told Camilla. Within a few hours, Camilla knew William was closing in. She decided she had to get rid of those papers. She used a secret cell phone to call a man named Ali Hassan. Ali was her head security guard and had worked for her for 15 years. He had always been very loyal to her. Camilla told him he had to go into the palace at night and destroy the papers in a secret safe. She told him exactly where they were. Ali thought he was being a good friend, but he was actually being asked to do something very illegal. At 1:45 in the morning, Ali went into Buckingham Palace. He was dressed like a night guard. He had a special laser to cut open the safe and a small tool to start a fire. He moved through the dark hallways, avoiding the cameras he knew so well. He got to the secret room at 2:03 in the morning. He used his security code to get inside. The room was dark and full of big metal cabinets. He found safe number 4. He used his laser to melt the lock. It took 15 minutes, but finally the door opened. Inside was a red folder with 40 pages. These were the original papers with the king's shaky signatures and the purple marks. Each page showed millions of dollars being stolen. Ali took out a lighter to start the fire, but suddenly the whole room was filled with bright white light. There were loud footsteps everywhere. A man named Lieutenant Colonel Thompson shouted, "Don't move, put the folder down." 5 guards with guns surrounded Ali. They had been waiting for him. Ali was caught. He put his hands on his head. The guards took the folder and made sure it was safe. Then they told Ali he was in big trouble for breaking into the room and trying to destroy the king's papers. They also told him something that changed everything. They had been listening to Camilla's secret phone calls for 3 days. They had a recording of her telling him to burn the papers. She had basically told on herself. Ali Hassan was taken to a secret room with no windows for questioning. There were cameras everywhere. Prince William and a top judge sat across from him. William didn't look angry, he looked sad. He asked Ali why he would do something so bad. Why would a good soldier like him break the law for Camilla? William showed Ali the recording of Camilla's voice. She was ordering him to burn the papers. William pointed out that Camilla didn't care about Ali's safety. She didn't have a plan to help him. She just wanted the evidence gone. William told Ali that he could go to jail for 20 years. His family would lose their house and their money. All his years of hard work would be for nothing. But William said there was another way. If Ali told the whole truth and helped them, he wouldn't go to jail for as long and his family would be safe. Ali sat there in silence for a long time. He realized that being loyal to Camilla was a mistake. She wasn't asking him to protect someone. She was asking him to help her cover up a crime against a sick king. Ali decided to talk. For 6 hours, he told them everything. It wasn't just a little bit of stealing, it was a big plan. Camilla even had a name for it. She called it the Post-Charles Safety Fund. She wanted to make sure she had at least £100 million, about $130 million, for herself and her children before King Charles died. She was worried that after he was gone, she wouldn't have as much power or money. She used her children to help her hide the money. She even used the king's medical schedule to know when he would be the most tired and confused so she could get him to sign the papers. She told him the papers were for helping people, like planting trees or helping the poor, but the money was really going to her family. Ali said that Camilla never felt bad about it. She wasn't worried about being mean, she was only worried about getting caught. William listened to all of this and felt a deep sadness. His father had loved Camilla so much. He had protected her when the whole world was being mean to her. He had made her the queen, and this was how she paid him back. By stealing from him while he was fighting for his life. William knew he had a very hard job to do now. He had to tell his father. The next morning was gray and cold. William drove himself to see his father. He didn't want any assistants or messengers with him. This was something he had to do alone. He found King Charles in his study. The room was full of old pictures and memories. The king looked very small and thin because of his sickness. He looked like he was made of glass. Camilla was sitting nearby reading a book. When she saw William's face, she knew something was wrong. William didn't look like a son visiting his dad. He looked like a leader coming to deliver a judgment. William opened his briefcase and started putting papers on the table. First, he showed the charts of the stolen money. Then he showed the original papers with the king's shaky signatures and the purple marks. He explained everything. He showed how the money went to Tom and Laura's secret accounts. He showed one paper where almost $3 million was taken for protecting nature, but it actually went to a secret bank account. King Charles's hands started to shake as he held the papers. He couldn't even remember signing them. William then told him about the medical schedule. He showed how the papers were always signed when the king was the most sick. Then William played the recording of Camilla's voice. He played the part where she talked about the Post-Charles Safety Fund and how they were using the king's sickness to get the signatures. When the recording stopped, the room was completely silent. King Charles didn't say anything for a long time. Then he asked one quiet question: why? He had given Camilla everything. He had loved her for many years and made her queen. He had fought his own family to be with her, and she had looked at his sickness as a way to make money. The king started to cry. It wasn't because he was mad, it was because his heart was broken. He realized that the person he loved most in the world was only pretending to care while she was actually robbing him. Camilla tried to talk. She tried to say it was William's fault. She said she was only trying to protect herself because William never liked her. She tried to make it sound like she was the victim, but William didn't let her finish. He told her that her fear had cost her everything. She had the king's trust and she threw it away. Charles sat there, thinking back on all the times Camilla had brought him papers to sign. He remembered her being so helpful and gentle, telling him to just sign quickly so he could rest. Now he knew she was just tricking him. Every happy memory they had now felt like a lie. Finally, William asked his father a very important question. Did he want William to go to the police and have a public trial, or did he want to handle it quietly inside the family? Charles shook his head. He looked very sad, but he knew what had to be done. He couldn't let her keep hurting the family. He gave William a small nod. It was the saddest thing William had ever seen. A father telling his son to send away the woman he loved because she was a criminal. A little while later, William stood in front of Camilla. His voice was steady and strong. He told her she wasn't being punished because he was mean, but because the royal family couldn't have someone like her inside it. He showed her a legal paper that he and a top judge had signed. It said she had to leave the house in 15 minutes. She was being sent to a faraway house in the mountains of Scotland. She wouldn't be allowed to go to any royal parties or events ever again. She could still be called Queen Consort in books, but it was just a title. She would have almost no money, and most importantly, she was never allowed to talk to King Charles again. No phone calls, no letters, nothing. Her children, Tom and Laura, also had to give back the money they stole if they wanted to stay out of jail. Camilla tried to argue. She said she was the queen and had rights. But William told her she could either go quietly to Scotland or go to a real prison for a long time and have a big trial that everyone in the world would see. Camilla finally stopped talking. She knew she had lost. King Charles didn't even look at her as she left. He just stared out the window. He was done. 2 officers came into the room and led Camilla to a car. She was only allowed to take the clothes she was wearing. Everything else would be checked and sold to pay back the stolen money. She walked past the hallways where she used to be the boss. She went out the door as a woman who had lost everything. William watched her car drive away. He then went over to his father, put a hand on his dad's shoulder and told him that he was safe now. The bad people were gone. Charles was still shaking. He asked what would happen now. William promised him that the money was being fixed and that they would make the royal family honest again. But Charles told William something very important. He said that while it's good to follow the rules, a king must also be kind. He told William that his biggest challenge would be finding the balance between being a tough leader and a kind human being. Just then, William's wife Kate came into the room. She was very quiet and kind. She went to King Charles and took his hand. She told him that from now on he would be surrounded by people who truly loved him for who he was, not just because he was a king. For the first time all day, Charles smiled a tiny bit. He knew he could trust William and Kate. As William and Kate walked to their car, William looked back at the palace. He felt the weight of everything that had happened. He had stopped a huge crime, but it had caused a lot of pain. He knew there was a lot of work to do to make people trust the royal family again. He knew he had to prove that nobody is above the law, not even a queen. Kate took his hand and they drove away together. The future was coming, and even though it was a bit scary, William was ready to lead. The royal family has been through a lot of tough times before. They have been through wars and other big problems. But having the person closest to the king betray him is one of the worst things that could ever happen. Can people ever trust the palace again? Can King Charles ever be happy again after finding out the truth? When William becomes king, will he be able to keep the family together? These are very big questions. There are no easy answers. But we know one thing: Prince William showed that he is ready to be a king. He showed that he cares more about the truth and doing the right thing than about being nice to people who are doing bad things. He saved his father and he saved the crown. What do you think? Did William do the right thing? Was he too mean to Camilla, or did she get what she deserved? We want to know what you think, so please leave a comment below. We love reading your thoughts. If you thought this story was interesting, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next video. There is another great story waiting for you on the screen right now. Go ahead and click it.